The Gospel according to Mark, the 6th chapter. When Jesus sends his disciples out to teach and heal, they minister among large numbers of people. Their work is motivated by Christ's desire to be among those in need. The reading begins at verse 30. The apostles gathered around Jesus and told him all they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in a boat into a deserted place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns and arrived ahead of them. As he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. When they had crossed over, they came to a land at Gennesaret and moored the boat. When they got out of the boat, people at once recognized him and rushed about that whole region and began to bring the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went into villages or cities or farms, they laid the sick in the marketplaces and begged him that they might touch even the fringe of his cloak. And all who touched it were healed. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ.
March 17th, 2019. That was a great day. The night before, my religious affairs NCO and I had landed in Naples, Italy for a week of suicide intervention training. This training started on Monday, so we had all day on Sunday to explore. We went to the ruins of the city of Pompeii, we hiked up Mount Vesuvius, and we enjoyed food at a small little Italian restaurant. It was delicious. I even took a nap. Why is that day so vivid in my mind? It was the first day since September 20th, 2018, that I had taken off. It was one of 5 days I was able to fully take off during the 11 months that I was deployed. I can totally empathize with Jesus and his disciples in this text. Jesus' disciples had just gotten back from however many days or weeks that they were out teaching. They were tired. Jesus recognized this, and he told them all to get out of Dodge for a bit and go rest by themselves. Great. Let's do this. Rest is important. So they got into the boat to go to a deserted place by themselves. Except, guess what happened next? The crowds followed them. They hurried on foot and beat the boat to the other side. Jesus saw this and he had compassion on the people because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so he took the time to teach them. He feeds them, which we'll hear about in a couple weeks. He takes a bit of time to himself to go pray. He walks on water, and then he and his disciples cross the sea again. More people flooded into that region to bring their sick to Jesus to be healed. So much for that rest time, right? There are a couple things going on here. First, we hear the need to rest. And second, we hear of the inability to rest because of everything going on in their lives. There's always more work to be done. There's always more people to see or speak to. There's always more things to be taken care of. The crowds around Jesus and his disciples were relentless, rushing to get in to Jesus before he had even gotten across the sea. They needed care, and they knew that Jesus and his disciples could provide that care to them. Some were desperate. We heard a few weeks ago the story of the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. She's an example of how desperate people sometimes take drastic measures, to include racing around the shore to beat a boat so they can meet Jesus. What happens, though, when our need to rest butts up against people's need for care? part of the other issue is that we have a pervasive societal need to be busy, to move forward, and to accomplish things at all costs. This also keeps us from getting the rest we need. It seems as if we wear busyness as a badge of honor. If we're not doing something every second of every day until we sleep, even though sometimes we don't think we need sleep, then we're somehow lazy. At least that's what we tell ourselves. That's what cultural norms in America tell us. Breaks are for the weak, some say. I remember in basic training being told, you can sleep when you're dead. However, we have also learned that not resting or taking breaks leads to increased stress, anxiety, and eventually burnout. Once you hit the burnout stage, it's difficult to get out of it until you've had a break, until you have rest, until you figure out a way to end that stress cycle that you're caught in. But how do we do that? Seriously, how do we end the stress cycles? How do we tell ourselves, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. It's okay to not be available every minute of every day for every person in our lives who's in need. If you're like me, you may still be searching for that answer. I have a number of books on my bookshelves, books that I'm in the midst of reading that give some sort of how-to. The books are great. They are helpful and they give good tips on what to do, but they won't do a bit of good unless I actually put the stuff into practice, unless I set boundaries and take care of myself. So twice a week, I go to the pool at the Y and do a water fitness class at 6 a.m. Now that seems like a lot of extra work. It takes away from sleeping in. And some days, you know what, I really do want to sleep in. But I also know that's what I need. I journal and I read. I've created space to do these things because I know that they help me break out of that stress cycle. So what's your thing? What are the things that you do to step back, to breathe, to give yourself the rest that you need to accomplish your next tasks? Now I get it. Some things just cannot wait. Some people cannot wait. Jesus realized this too when he was healing people. But some things can wait. Some people can wait. Part of what we're called to do is to recognize what needs immediate attention from someone else and what can wait, both for our needs as well as others. Recognize that people have a lot going on in their lives, and so unless it's an emergency, we might not get the attention that we want or think we deserve right away. Give others the opportunity to rest. And that means sometimes stepping up to do something ourselves so that they can get a break. But remember to give yourself the opportunity to rest as well. We're not unstoppable machines that never need maintenance. And crazy enough, even those machines need rest. God rested. We see it time and time again in the Gospels, where Jesus would go off by himself to rest and to pray. And we see it at the end of the creation story, where God rested on the seventh day. There is one more important thing to remember from our text. Well, Jesus told his disciples to go and rest, and though the crowds followed them, Jesus still had compassion on the people who came to him for healing. He still took the time to meet them where they were. He did not turn them down. Instead, he taught, he healed, he fed. And Jesus does the same thing for us. When we are tired, when we are worn out, when we have others in our lives who don't respect boundaries, when we're overwhelmed with all of the responsibilities we have, Jesus tells us to come to him. He says those who are weary and carrying heavy burdens can come to him, and he will give them rest. He still gave his disciples the time they needed to rest in that moment. We're not God, and we can't pretend to be God either. God invites us to come to him for rest. In fact, in Psalm 23, King David wrote of God, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long." Take the time to go to Jesus. Take the time to rest. Take the time to care for yourself and help others take a rest. Trust that our God will always have time for us, and we can always turn to Jesus, and Jesus will have compassion on us, for he is our shepherd. Amen.